So our nomination for the MVPs of water conservation, Stacia and Nate. We'll talk about it. All right, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is, of course, Conversations with the Crawleys, where we have conversations about faith, family, relationships, and we do recaps, reviews, and commentary on some of our favorite TV shows. This one is all about the latest episode of Season 5, Married at First Sight, San Diego. So if this is your first time, we appreciate you stopping by. Do us the favor of hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, request notifications, and share. And we'll see you in the comments. To the regular squad, welcome back. Appreciate you all stopping back through. Looking, there are ways now to support the channel. Down in the description, there's a shelf now of some merch that we have, and we actually have a limited edition shirt right now that really says, I am a limited edition, so I don't know how long we're going to keep it out there. But definitely make sure if there's something there, we have new shirts that'll be dropping soon. Support the channel. That's one way to help. All right. So let's jump into it. Who do you want to talk about first?
Let's go with the first couple they gave.
All right. So let's talk about Mitch and Kristen. First of all, let me ask this. Is he ever going to get rid of that doggone Band-Aid?
It has to heal, Kev. It has to heal. It just happened right before the wedding. So, it takes time to heal.
Listen, now, I used to be bald. I used to shave my head bald. Okay, occasionally I'll shave my head and I would nick myself. I'd be doggone if I would walk around with a big old Band-Aid on the side of my head.
He didn't nick himself. He got hit by a surfboard. It wasn't because he was shaving.
Then if he got stitches, he got stitches. Okay, well, I'm just sorry.
Band-Aid long.
That Band-Aid. All right, so anyway, they do go to their hotel, their hotel after the wedding.
Right.
She's trying to find pajamas that she had set aside.
Because she had like a cute pair for the first night.
And not the everyday pair.
With the holes in it.
Right.
The ones that don't match.
Ooh. So after she takes all her makeup off, he's like, oh, you look nice. Now.
Is he just trying to be, everything gets status quo. Whatever's mainstream, he don't want to be it. He don't want no part of it. His woman don't want to be part of it. I'm telling you, I want to see some past relationships. I want to see if they ain't washed their hair. They ain't had no makeup. They still had hair under the underarms. I want to know how natural he really likes it.
Hey, he's trying to conserve everything. Okay. So, they get up, they have breakfast, and, they're talking. And he also is like, in addition to being kind of intense about conservation and the environment, I'm also a picky eater.
Yeah. And she's like, you don't like things that are runny, do you? He's like, nope.
He's like, yeah, from childhood, there's some things like, okay.
Right, because she was like, okay, so that means no condiments, right? So she kind of got him pegged already. He's like, yeah, I don't like mayonnaise.
Now, will he eat sushi like Mark the shark from last season would not touch sushi, or had to be kind of forced to eat it?
He might eat sushi since he's into the ocean. He might eat fish.
Or he might try to conserve all the fish in there too. I don't know.
I don't know. Be interesting to see.
But he also, and this is, again, we start to see this, he points out the plastic cup, but he's like, oh, they at least did a good job with the paper straw.
Right.
So I'm predicting that his what he later on calls his religion of environmentalism is going to cause problems. I think that's going to be an issue.
I know. I think it's going to probably more of his pickiness. Because you can't help it what a hotel does.
Right.
So now when you get home, and start living together, I think those things that we're going to have to talk about.
Right.
Like, hey, tell me what, are you going to buy, or tell me what I can and cannot use? Because she says she recycles, but I think everybody kind of like knows what to do for recycle.
Right.
For the most part.
So then he meets with her mom and friends.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And mom was like, okay, so what are your intentions, bruh?
Right.
And the mom is like, okay, my daughter's not a diva.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't lie to her.
Right.
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 But then she asks a great question about, okay, why have your past relationships not worked?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I'm just like, bro, it sounds strange to me. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
Because he's like, it failed because he was not true to himself as a closet environmentalist. Those are his words.
Right. You did say that.
So I'm like, no, if I'm struggling with myself as far as something I feel, who I am, my identity, those type of things, I don't know if I put environmentalist as something that's a barrier to a relationship, being a closet environmentalist.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the parts we did not see, they may have cut out. He shared what that meant because pretty much Mama was telling him like, I don't know if you're ready for her.
Right.
So, or how to handle her. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I was like, you talking truth.
Because he says he's intensely committed to his mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's his religion.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finding room that he's like, but there is room for love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're the monk of environmentalism. That's basically what he's saying.
Pretty much. I mean, like, and I get it. Like, I don't know what that entails. Now, if that says you're a workaholic, because he does work for a company, a nonprofit or whatever, I want to kind of give more details because I don't know any environmental activists.
Right. I mean, when I was in high school, Earth Day was a huge thing that we were focused on and what have you. And so, yeah, we would take time to make sure we educated on, plastics to use and not use, what have you. So there was times and opportunities when I was younger. Well, yeah, especially because it was kind of a rising concern, if you will, that we did those things. But to the extreme that I think he takes it is a very small segment of the population. And so it's interesting how that will work for him.
We'll see how it works out as we learn more. He's going to teach us something.
I still think that he's more attracted to his mother-in-law than he is to his wife.
Well, he's going to have to get over it because he ain't getting with the mother-in-law.
Okay. All right. So then she meets his brother, his mother, and his sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And sister-in-law starts dropping tea.
I'm like, red flags. Because she's like, look, I didn't even get along with him. I'm not even married to him, and I didn't get along to him.
She's like, yeah, we bumped heads.
But, we were able to work through it because I ain't going nowhere as far as concerning his brother. So we had to become family.
But she says something that, again, caught my attention. She says that he can say things that are hurtful.
Right, because we're talking about him being brutally honest. Now, you got to have tact, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you want to be brutally honest, there's ways to say things. Or guess what? You don't have to say everything that you're thinking,
right,
even though it's true.
Right.
That's what honesty is, right? I'm giving you what the truth is. So you don't have to say everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope he chooses his words wisely because once you say something, you can't get it back.
I'd have more faith if he were in his early 20s. But at 41, I think he's a little more established in how he communicates. Because even the brother's like, the brother's worried that that Mitch is gonna say something that's gonna tick Kristen off and she'll be done. Mm-hmm. And the sister comes back and co-signs and says, yeah, he can be a jerk sometimes. So he's a little more established in his communication pattern.
Well, anyone can change. I'm
not saying they can't.
I can't say that's not. If he really wants love, because if he keeps this pattern up, he's not going to keep a long-term relationship.
Agreed.
Let alone a marriage. Mm-hmm. So we'll find out how much he's willing to work on changing, because that's a process.
Yep.
So we'll see.
So then everybody kind of finds out, and we'll kind of touch on the other couples, but finds out that they're going for their honeymoon to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
So it's like, I can't say this. I understand.
So, but they get their basket and everything, and they get poppers, and he's triggered by the poppers.
Right, because it's just putting plastic all over the place. And God knows if Nemo swallows the plastic, if Nemo swallows this, God forbid.
Right.
So she's like, oh my God, I can't even enjoy all the things in the basket. So she's a little down
Right.
that he's like taking, what's going to occur from the poppers that's going to get confetti.
Right.
And where it's going to go. I'm like, I'll pick
overriding
them
the
up.
celebration of the moment.
Right. So she's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they go on because they get t-shirts.
Right.
So I think she was doing a Jedi mind trick on him. Because he was like, oh, wearing this and they got hubby on the front of it. So you don't have to wear yours. I'm going to wear mine. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I'll wear it. I got you. She's like, I'm going to figure you out.
Yeah.
So he decided he is going to wear his shirt.
I do not, I feel sorry for her or sad for her if she's got to spend their entire relationship playing Jedi mind tricks to get him to do stuff that he just should be doing. I mean, it's a t-shirt.
And she's like, what is about the label? Are you my hubby or you're not my hubby? You're just wearing it out loud.
Right.
Because you got a ring on.
And here's the thing. I think everybody got shirts, and so it might have been the design. Right. I don't know how they decided on the design for each couple.
Right. They just picked a shirt that said, make sure one says hubby and one said wife.
And you could find a store real quick. And
that wasn't the problem. The problem was that it was the title.
Yeah. So.
And first he didn't want to do it.
Right. But. All right. So then Lindy and Miguel.
Right.
She takes forever.
Miguel was like, you know what? We're going to cuddle. We're going to talk a little bit. You see the clock when they start giving times at the bottom of the screen.
He like making sure she's still alive in the bathroom.
Right. He didn't even knock. He's just like, look, let me just make sure she ain't pass out in the bathroom. And as he says, she's in there. She's anxious. Mm-hmm. She's overthinking. He's like, typically this would be a red flag. No, this would be a red flag. Mm-hmm. So what he's going to have to understand is that he's going to have to say, babe, guess what? It's okay. You can come on out.
Yeah.
I'm not setting any high expectations for you. I just want to cuddle with you.
Right.
And let's talk a little bit.
This first night, we have more nights.
You got more nights to find. Look, you can find it or you'll find it in Mexico. But I need you to come to bed.
And so he's like, yeah, she's a stress ball. And I think, who was it, Alexis, that kind of pointed out that she has the gift of gab. Mm-hmm. But he is attracted to her.
Yeah.
He's definitely attracted to her.
Yeah, they have a problem.
So he meets with her mother and brother and a friend. And he says that they're already connecting.
Right.
The brother...
His first question, I can't remember what it was, but I was
finding a path to her.
Yeah, I was like, what? What does that mean? I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, I understand that first question.
Then he comes again with, the mom kind of co-signs the question about sex, right?
Well, the mom wants to ask about sex. I'm like, what do you want to know about sex that's going to be between me and my wife? And she was like talking about, well, y'all should wait. And, the Bible says you need to know each other. Okay, now you're getting scripture wrong. No. The no is the sex part. That's how you know your wife. It doesn't mean knowing as in information or getting to know about them. The Bible puts no in the place of having sex. Back then, that's how they knew each other. They knew each other by sex.
Right. When the Bible says that Adam knew Eve, it's not like he met. That's just the greeting of we met each other.
Where you came from, my rib?
No, he got to know her.
Tell me where you came from, baby.
And then the other thing is, if we're looking at how relationships were in biblical days, there wasn't the 9 years of courting or dating, right?
Unless
a lot of times it was an arranged marriage.
Set up and you got to work 7 years for a wife.
well, you get married and you work 7 years to pay off the debt of the cows, the chickens, the sheep, and whatnot.
But since we're gonna throw the Bible in there, I was like, okay, so that's not correct. But again, yeah, he's saying, I'm not trying to pressure your daughter
or your little sister.
Or your sister.
Because the brother playing the little sister card a little too much for me.
So, but I'm like, only thing you can just say is like, I'm being respectful. Obviously, I went through all this testing. Mm-hmm. I'm not a creep. I'm not creepy. I'm not going to do anything to force your daughter even though we're married. We're married.
Right.
So, I appreciate him just trying to help them with their concerns. So,
So then she meets with his sister and some friends.
that sister's intense. That sister was intense. You know what? Your sign, his sign. You know what? That ain't going to even work. I was like, okay. He was like,
I'm going to just say, believe what you want to, but I'm a firm believer.
I was like, she was like,
to assign just based upon the month I was born, whether or not I'm compatible with somebody else, that's just, I don't know.
Well, my thing is like, everybody still has to work it out no matter what. 'Cause she's like, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. But you're not helping by saying it ain't going to work. And then she's like, well, how much debt you have? I mean, those are good questions. Like, well, how much debt are you bringing to the table? She said a lot. She said, I cry over it. She said, I cry over it, but I don't work to pay it off. She's like, I work when I want to work. Take as much time as I need to take.
Listen.
I was like, and she's like, the sister's like, that ain't gonna work. She said, that ain't gonna work. My brother likes somebody ambitious. So if you don't got that together, and she's looking like, oh, snap.
I'm just saying, Lindy is probably like all of us. Joe Biden, do your job. Let's get these student loans. At least knock them down some.
No, good.
I'm saying at least.
Pay them. Well, knock them down by 75%. 90%. Knock it down 90%. How about that? But I wouldn't want you to go ahead and erase it like it never happened. Erased it like I never saw that line. Oh my God. Right. So, yeah. So she's a little like, already you can see Liz in her head. She's just thinking in her head, like, what did I sign up for?
Yeah.
So,
and then during her debrief with Miguel, she does talk about the student loan debts. Yeah. And he says that he's financially taken care of women before, but he doesn't want to be a sugar daddy. Bro, you've been a sugar daddy if that's the case. If you've been taking care of women financially, not because there's a difference between helping out and taking care of.
Right. Well, she's a doctor, so I know she got probably $100,000 easily.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Yeah, because if you're talking if she did a bachelor's, master's, and a doctor and a PhD, or even if she just went straight to her PhD, either way, that's a ton of money.
That's a ton of money.
So. All right. So then Stacia and Nate.
Yeah.
They get into their.
Yeah, we talked about.
Yeah, they get into their room, and normally everybody's like, which side of the bed you want. He's like, this my side. I'm good right here.
She was like, hold on, what? You gonna lay where? And then she was like, okay, you can have it. I'm not picking this as our fight.
We can fight over stuff, but we're not gonna fight over side of the bed of a bed that we are only sleeping in for a night or two. Yeah.
I was like, first she was like, what? She was like, we doing what?
Now because we have our established size of the bed that we've had for years.
And you asked me.
I did.
You always do. Even when we go on travel, like, which I'm going to sleep on this. Sometimes we don't ask and we just go. Right. But if you do, you always give me the courtesy and ask me what side of the bed I'm going to sleep on. But boy.
And most of the time, it's, for me, I'm sleeping closer to the door in case something happens. Right. So. So then, she was attracted to him.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
He meets with her family.
Right.
And we start to get a little more information on Nate.
Yeah. I think Nate's sweet. I was like, oh, because he talks about his dad. They were asking him about his family. And he was tearing up a little bit about his dad. His dad really took care of him. But
and dad was in the military.
His dad was in the military, so he's been in Spain and Greece. And he was saying how his mom, he saw her one time when he was 12 years old, and it was very brief on his birthday.
Right.
So could you imagine that being like sealed in a child's mind? That on your birthday for the first time in 12 years, you see your mother and then all of a sudden she's just gone again.
Yeah.
And so you can tell that he really wants a traditional family where him and his wife are together.
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking about having kids together.
Yeah.
So, I think there's still a lot of hurt,
Mm-hmm.
especially not having that connection with his mom. Could mean also why he can not have a commitment with these, other relationships he had or his one night stands or whatever, because of that brokenness between him and his mom.
Yeah.
And I know he shares also even talking about being interracial. And they got that in common. She also shares about trying to figure out, where do I fit in?
Right.
And how does that, as a child, because children are, mean. So
Just a little.
just a little bit.
She meets with his dad and a friend, and she talks about how she's a workaholic, how she's stubborn,
10,
and
12 hours.
she wants her way. And they ask the questions, okay, well, what if he wants you to slow down? What is that going to do?
Y'all gonna have kids? Who take care of the kids? If you work at 12 hours, he work at 12 hours.
So, so then they show up at the, they go on their honeymoon, and they walk in. Now he says they were marble floors. I don't know if they were marble floors.
What do you think they were? They were marble.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were, yeah, because they weren't, yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It was a quick glance for me. I was like, okay. So, but he's like, he wants to consummate on the honeymoon. He's like, look, I'm gonna try to make this happen on the honeymoon. That's what he said.
Well, I didn't necessarily hear that. Obviously, he was like, if she's into it, he definitely in.
Yeah, but he said he wanted to try it. He wanted to make it happen on the, and so he's like, I want to understand her cues. Right. I want to understand kind of where she's coming from. Right. And
that makes sense.
I get that.
Yeah.
And then they start to decide.
Well, hold on. Because you got to get this full story.
Go ahead, get the full story out. Go ahead.
So, they're talking to producers, and they're like, yeah, us consummating our marriage, until we get to know each other and know each other well, that's just something that's going to happen naturally.
Because they're both like, they want it to mean something.
They want it to mean something. And they're, they're kind of talking to each other like, yeah, I feel the same way. I just want it to be natural. We're going to get to know each other. And that's going to happen. And we're like, I'm watching it like, makes sense. Several other couples have said that. Hey. Then all of a sudden, they're saying, oh, we need to conserve water because I don't know where they've been. I don't know if they've been in the ocean. I don't know if they just sweaty. But they're like, yeah, you're suggesting we take a shower to conserve water.
We had a conversation with Mitch, and Mitch told us about conserving water. So we're going to go ahead and conserve water all the time.
We're going to conserve water. So it should be good for us to take a shower together because, we're conserving water. They're in agreement to that. And all of a sudden, I was in an R-rated movie.
I'm like,
what happened? I was like, hold on. I was like,
I make a covenant with my eye.
When was you supposed to? Wasn't the cameraman supposed to leave?
That's in that part.
I was like, cameraman, camera woman, whoever you are, camera person
was like, I'm getting paid to do this. I'm going to do it to the fullest.
I was like, oh, this is the first for Married at First Sight. We getting all the skin and water.
Because normally,
they're like, bye, you're closest.
Whatever, you see that it's going that direction.
We've seen some in the tub, but they had the bubbles up high or whatever.
And they're like, all right, y'all got to go.
Bye. They were like,
nope, we're going to be here and film all of this. This is going to be on the outtakes, the bloopers, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So I was like, did they have bathing suits on? They just rinsing off? Okay. Again, they're married.
They are.
They can do whatever they want. But it was just kind of like not. It was a Married at First Sight first.
Yes.
Yes. Put it that way. Bless the Lord.
All right, and then Justin and Alexis.
Yes.
They both like cuddling. They have great chemistry at this point. He says he stared at her while she was sleeping.
You've done that to me. You've told me that you came in and you were staring at me. I've waken up and you've been staring at me.
Okay. I don't remember that, but okay.
Oh, no, you don't.
No, I don't remember. I mean, in 26 years, I probably have, and you've done that same thing too, so. What? Huh? I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Anywho.
Uh-huh.
So.
She said that he feels familiar. So
Right.
again, they're having at this point
Right.
great chemistry.
Right.
She meets with his mom and friend.
Right.
And she sits down and is like, well, your son's still celibate.
And I'm like, okay. Good to know. I didn't ask. You know, but they want to make sure that she's aware that he can be sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So watch how you talk to him.
And Alexis, she says that she can handle that, right? So we'll see. Because it's all great right now.
Right.
But we still got 7 weeks and 4 days.
Look, they showing clips of the future and his eyes are not dry.
Not at all. And she asked about previous engagements that he had.
Right.
So
the previous engagement.
Because
he only had one.
Right.
Compared to her.
And then about hers and
Right.
where she was.
Right.
And she says that she's done running.
Right. That's what she says.
That's what she says right now.
You know, or what her idea of marriage was.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know more. Was it they didn't make enough money for her?
Mm-hmm.
You know, did she wanted to stay home?
Was it too soon as far as in the relationship?
Right.
Were there flags that she saw from her or he saw,
Right. I would like to know more what that was. But, she shares that with them and they're like, okay,
Mm-hmm. Because one time, okay. 2 times?
3 times?
3 times?
I mean, like,
there's some other things, other concerns.
People wish they could get 3 proposals from 3 different men.
Yep.
So you can reel them in, but you don't keep them. You throw them right back out in the sea.
Okay.
So, I think we need to know more about what's going on there. But hopefully we'll see, because when he meets with
her mom and sisters,
he says, I'm a pleaser. Anytime someone says they're a pleaser, oh Lord. And she's like, what about your needs? Do you know how to speak up for your needs?
Right.
Because it has to be balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And he indicates that he just doesn't give out to not get anything in return.
Right.
That's what he says. But he don't sound that way, especially if you're saying you're sensitive. So
you need a man with sensitivity.
So we'll see. I don't have any problem with you being sensitive.
No.
But I also need you to speak up
Right.
when you're like, hey, I need this from you.
Right.
Please work on this.
If you're always in your feelings and always in your emotions, that's very difficult to navigate in a relationship.
Right. For anyone, even for a man with a woman.
Right.
With a woman.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so then, they're getting ready for their honeymoon and she pulls out her bathing suit and he's like, yeah. And she's like, no, we being celibate. We ain't doing nothing. He's like, we started that way.
We want to end that
but
way.
we ain't finishing that way.
Right, because when they're on the honeymoon, because they're meeting all the couples, he was like, whoo. So let me tell you what's going on with my body.
I woke up.
He's like, I can't. I'm married now. I don't know if I can hold out anymore. It's been 1.5 years.
Hopefully, Alexis, hopefully they do go ahead, because I'm tired of hearing about just him talking about him being a piece of meat. And
look, I think he has to take the same thing now that he knows he's married and he is getting to know her. So I get, being sexually charged.
yeah.
So, but he just got to understand that he's, again, in another situation.
Right.
And he needs to take his time with that, especially with you being sensitive. You don't want to start something that's going to end up in a way where it's not going to go his way.
Right.
So,
So at the while they're on the honeymoon at the resort, all the couples kind of meet up and talk, except for Morgan and Ben. We'll get on them in just a moment. Right. And then they, do a recap of the wedding. Right. So everybody's kind of like, talk about your wedding day. Mitch leads with, my mother-in-law was walking down the aisle and she's I was just like, is that my mother? Is that my wife? She's not his wife, or Kristen's not necessarily put off, but I just found it interesting that, again, that's what he leads with.
Yeah, and I don't know how. The woman was not in a white dress at all.
Maybe that bump on the head with the surfboard hit a little too deep. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I would lead with that. Because she says, my
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 mother's.
mother, she does look young,
Mhm.
for her age. And then the other couples are trying to charm in to kind of downplay this.
Right.
And says, well, that means when you get older, we know that you're not going to age.
Right.
You're going to still look young and youthful. So I think it's time to let it go.
Yes.
And put it under the carpet that you didn't get a dark-headed.
Don't mention it again.
Right. And I think didn't he say at the beginning that he was always attracted to older women? So
I believe so.
okay.
Yeah. Alexis and Justin talk about how they met and matched on the Hinge dating app.
Yes, but she decided not to. I don't know how Hinge works.
Yeah.
So, but they did match.
When we were dating, they weren't really dating apps.
There were no dating apps.
There were phone lines.
It was like you saw me like, hey, can I get your phone number?
Yeah.
Prehistoric kind of stuff.
Wow. They're prehistoric. Wow.
Can I get your phone number?
I am not that
Can you
old.
write it down? Because you couldn't text it. You had to write it down. So, that's dating us.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't
Anyway.
feel bad, babe.
Anyway.
I love you. That's good.
Listen, getting numbers, you had to have pen and paper,
pen and paper
on you at all times, just in case.
Just in case you found that right one. Oh my God! Now they DM. They don't even call anymore.
And then here's the thing that would happen
Instagram.
sometimes is that you get, if somebody's not interested, they will give you like a joke line or some other phone number that led to something else. So, but the other part of that story that I think was on After Party was that she wasn't necessarily interested in him from the dating app, but he found her, I think it was through Facebook or something. He kind of stalked her a little to reach out to her.
Are you serious?
So yeah,
Is she still in?
So that didn't work, but now they're married. So, and they do talk about how, at the with the other couple, they're like they could have actually been married 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Talking about when they may have matched or what have you.
Because that's where and that's what they were telling her. Like you had to get out of your way,
Right?
Because you don't know what you need until you're matched. Because you're just looking at people's appearance,
Right.
Everybody.
Well, Stacia and Nate talk about how very similar they are. How they're almost like the same person. They have the same toothpaste and everything.
Yeah,
right?
they like the same brand of toothpaste. Right.
Miguel, though, with Lindy, he's like, I was making some moves, and I got shot down. I tried this, I got the hand. Y'all, okay, I'm dating myself again. When you would dance with somebody and then they give you in other words, the dance is over. That's what he was getting. He was getting the nice try. And then Mitch, because Alexis again brought up the fact that that Justin is celibate, right? Or has been celibate for a year and a half. Mitch is like, yeah, I've been celibate, but not by choice. I just
Right.
I had no luck.
Right. Like if I could, I would have.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And again, this is where Justin overshares, in my opinion. He shares about his waking up, and we get it, bro.
We get it. We understand.
All right, but back in San Diego, Ben and Morgan are finally able to get married.
Yeah, his COVID test.
He passed his test. Yeah. He's getting married the day before he turns 30.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, he's got that going on. And he says he's open to a second honeymoon. And watch this. He says he was willing to pay for it.
Right.
Due to the shortened honeymoon that they're going to have.
Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for taking that initiative. Opening our wallet.
Because, he got that thing on lock, under lock, key, and a safe.
I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that, he's willing to even say that. But again, it's about being flexible.
Yeah.
I don't think she wants to break the bank, but you got to be able to have some enjoyment.
Because even with us right now, we're thinking about plans that we have, and so that means that we tighten up a little, but that doesn't mean that we just stop living and stop doing other things, right? So she talks about how her dad is not coming. She didn't tell him because they've had a rocky past,
Right.
and she even talks about how she when she was growing up, she never envisioned her dad walking her down the aisle. She is like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I give myself away.
I hear that, but I think anyone, if you're talking about fairy tales, you always wanted your dad to walk you down.
Right.
And I think if things may be different, she may be saying something different.
Correct.
But I granted at this point, she wants to think of everything that's going to be positive, and that's a way to look at it.
Yeah. He though is more scared of his mother's approval of his wife. Even to the point where he said he told his mom that if there's something that you don't like about her, tell me and we can work it out.
I don't know what I would never have a conversation with my parents concerning that.
I introduced you to my mom.
Right.
My mom liked you.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if my mom didn't like you,
Right.
that wasn't going to stop us.
Right.
Sorry.
I hope not, but who knows?
It wasn't.
But yeah.
And did you notice the product placement? Listen, Married at First Sight be sneaking in the product placement.
Oh, with the engagement ring?
No. This time they had Pastor Cal's book. Did you see that?
Oh yes.
It was just like laid out there like.
No, because she supposedly got it as a gift. Remember?
Right.
She opened us like,
right.
Pastor Cal's book.
Right.
I was like, what? Okay.
They were like, no, we got to sneak this in at least one couple.
Like, Pastor Cal got to get paid.
Hey. So they have their wedding. He talks about his mom can also nitpick and not see the good. So he's just concerned about, because he's a mama's boy.
Well, I hope he hears what he's saying.
Right.
And realize that, yes, you want your parents to approve of your spouse. Granted, yes, I get that. But at the same time, it's you being married to your spouse, not.
Because your parents may come around, they may never come around. They may.
You want them to be a part.
Especially if it's a toxic mother or a toxic parent relationship, the parent may never come around, no matter who it is.
That's true.
Right? What's interesting also is that he talks about he cut himself shaving, and he didn't have a Band-Aid. All right. Yeah, that Band-Aid's irritating on Mitch. All right, so they kiss. She finds him really attractive. They talk about how she does Muay Thai, and he's like, "Oh, okay." Because she's like, "Yeah, I can punch you, I can kick you,
throw you to the
I
ground.
can throw you to the ground." He's like, "Okay,
I'll keep that in consideration."
Gotcha.
Because she was just talking about like, oh, so you train, I work out,
Like we can go to the gym together.
Yeah, lift weights. And so I think she's really excited, so far.
Right.
And they really are trying to find things to talk to. I don't know how well it was like their conversation was coming off.
Right.
It seemed like she was doing a little bit more talking. So we'll see as things go on.
We'll see. But you all see the trailer, the previews for the rest of the season. You all know it's about to be a bumpy road.
Well, at first I was like, hold on. Boy, everybody lovey-dovey. And I was like, okay. Then they got to the...
You lied to me. You broke privacy.
Ooh, I was like, oh, Lord.
Everybody crying.
Crying.
Throwing stuff or walking out and...
Yes, a whole notch. I was like, yep, there's marriage.
Pastor Cal's like...
Now, I'm just concerned. I was like, these new experts, are they being a little edgy? I'm like... Granted, these people are already heightened.
Right.
And it just reminds me.
What does it remind you?
It just reminds me of getting married because when you're young or you've never been married or you've had these relationships that haven't last long. And so all this is a learning experience.
Absolutely.
How to deal with people. And these are people you don't know.
Right.
So it's not like you work through it and fall in love with them and decide to get married. And now you're trying to work through this. You're doing all this at one time.
Yeah.
And so for me, I always want to take that and put it in perspective in their situation. Because it's hard being married, period, when you know someone.
Oh, yeah.
And not knowing and putting that on top of it. And then here we got these... I'm still a little leery. We'll see about how these new experts pan out.
Right.
But it's just like, they don't need any additional stress coming from you coming cross-eyed or, you know.
And being the experiment of am I going to be cast for the next season?
Right. Because you trying to make a name
right.
off of my relationship.
Yeah.
Just saying. They just don't be too edgy on me. Because I will call you out. Like, who are you again? Where are you from? Don't try nothing.
Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. All right. So look, that's it for this one. We'll see you all next time. Again, just check out the other videos. We got Ready to Love starting soon.
Woo, Friday.
Well, whenever you watch it, just go to the playlist and check out the Married at First or the Ready to Love recaps that we do as well. And we'll see you all next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.